Welcome back, Dingers. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my brand new rifle. This thing is a Nemo Arms. This is the Omen Recon. This is their 18-inch model. So there are three different models you can get chambered in a 300 Winchester Magnum. For shooting this big of a caliber, this is a 300 Winchester Magnum. 180 grains. This thing is going 3,000 plus feet per second. That is a big round going super fast. It should have a lot of kick, a lot of recoil. The gun does not weigh that much. This is a fairly light weapon for how big of a gun this looks like. But this brake does a fantastic job of negating that recoil. Also, obviously, with how big their bolt is, I'm sure that bolt's pretty heavy. It's coming back a lot with the spring system in here. It feels like shooting a 5.56. I can actually stay on target and see most of my shots hit, especially if I'm shooting beyond 200 yards, 300, 400, 500 yards. I'm literally watching my vapor trail hit that target. Part of it's probably this bull barrel is a little bit heavier in the front, but for how big that barrel is, it's pretty light. It kind of helps keep the muzzle down. Which helps me keep the scope on target. Even shooting out to 1,000 yards, yesterday we were shooting out there quite a ways, I could see my bullet and the vapor trail going all the way out there. That to me is incredible that I can fire this big of a caliber, a 300 Winchester Magnum, and be able to stay on target. When you're shooting a lighter weapon, maybe a 6-7 pound, bolt action rifle, I always have too much muzzle rise when I'm taking those shots. I can't catch my bullet in air hitting my target. I don't see impact. When we're talking about a 10 to 12 pound rifle and one that functions as smooth as this, with this type of a brake in the front here to kind of help that muzzle rise, you can literally see your own vapor trail. It was awesome. I love, like, out of the box how accurate this thing is. You would think out of like a big caliber, like a 300 Win Mag, that this wouldn't be as accurate. One, because of the round, but two, because of it being a semi-auto platform. And somehow Nemo Omens have just kind of figured it out. I don't know what it is. They do know what it is because they figured it out for sure. I don't consider myself to be a precision shooter by any means, but I've been shooting for a long time. For me, if I can get sub MOA on a gun that says sub MOA, I'm happy with that. I'm not looking for half-inch groups. I'm not looking for three-quarter-inch groups. I'm happy at 1-inch groups if the gun says it can shoot 1-inch groups. Here in the front, I attached my Atlas bipod. I love this one. I don't remember which model it was. It sits wider though. Some of them have a shorter stance. This one has a much wider stance. It allows me to do a lot more long-range precision shooting. I did throw on some Magpul 4 grips just to kind of help me pull this thing back into my shoulder, especially if I want to pick it up and put it into my shoulder. If I'm firing from a standing position, I just want something to kind of grab and pull into my shoulder. I topped it off with a Vortex 5x25 by 50. This thing is smooth. It's not the best quality Vortex by any means. It's not a Razor HD, but for $1,000, this thing can get me out to 1,000 yards, no problem. So this thing comes with the Magpul Precision stock. I really like these things. In fact, I have them on several other rifles. They're very simple, basic to use. You basically have two wheels. If you turn the back one, the buttstock will extend. If you turn the the forward one, your cheek riser will extend up. There's only two settings on that. It also comes with the rail on the bottom of it, so you can throw in a monopod just to shoot off of a monopod, especially if you're doing long range shooting, just to add a little bit more stability. For me, I don't like to shoot with a monopod. I usually prefer to use a towel or a cloth, or just even my own, arm or hands to kind of level this thing up for me. The grip is nothing special. This appears to be a Magpul grip, just a plastic one. I might switch it out with one of their more rubbered ones, like a Hogue grip. I really like with Hogue, it kind of fits the fingers of my hand. It's a lot more comfortable to shoot. The magazines, these are 14 round magazines. They look really short, but that's because of how big this caliber is. I did get 5 of them with this rifle, so I should be good to go. From what I understand, they don't make any bigger or smaller magazine sizes than these 14 ones, and they're all made in the USA. One thing that I really love about this rifle is their trigger. This is stock. I'm going to go ahead and close this. It is not loaded. There is a little bit of creep. If I do it this way, you can probably see that. But once you hit that wall, it is super crisp. It's like a 2-pound trigger. I don't know how they do that. I'm impressed with their ability to kind of eat all ammunition. Usually your rifle will like certain rounds, certain speeds, you know, the barrels are going to vibrate. They have a barrel harmonics based off of, you know, what load you have in here. And it seemed to work with a lot. I don't know if you want to zoom in, dude. This is a super heavy, like, bull barrel on this thing. Obviously we're shooting a Magnum caliber. It is super thick, but the gun itself is not that heavy. This is actually an 18-inch barrel. Props to Nemo. They have definitely kind of fine-tuned this. This is the Recon Gen 3. I know they've had previous versions of this. This is not a new rifle for Nemo by any means. They've had this out on their catalog for a decade now, I believe. But this is their Gen 3, and it is almost flawless.